He put it together with a shirk and kufr and made it parallel and equal and described it as even being greater in certain circumstances. In the Quran, Allah Ta'ala said, Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu, innama al-khamr wal-maysir wal-ansab wal-azlam rijsum min amali shaitan fajtanibuhu la'allakum tuflihun. O you who believe, verily intoxicants and gambling and slaughtering food for the idols, as well as divination with arrows. You want to make a decision? Instead of making Salat al-Istikhara, the non-Muslims of Quraysh, they used to get arrows and they would pull out arrows to decide what to do. If the long arrow came, they would do it. If the short arrow came, they wouldn't do it, and so forth and so on. Allah Ta'ala mentioned this practice of the mushrikeen of Quraysh, and He coupled these two issues. What Quraysh used to do, they used to slaughter for the idol, al-ansab, and they used to do divination for arrows. Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned khamr and gambling, and He made them equal to these. They were mentioned. Zina wasn't mentioned there. Murder wasn't mentioned there. Neither one of those two great sins. Magic wasn't mentioned there. The issue of khamr and gambling was mentioned there. The Prophet ﷺ told the people, Man mata wa fi batnihi khamrun mata mitat jahiliya. Anyone who dies and intoxicants are in his stomach when he dies, he has died the death of Jahiliyyah. Jahiliyyah is the pre-Islamic period, the period in which the people didn't believe in Allah. So anyone who dies and he has khamr in his stomach, he dies like the people of Jahiliyyah, the people with no deen. He said in another hadith, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, mutmin al-khamr, in mata laqi Allah ka'abid wathan. The one who is addicted to drinking, he's addicted to drugs and he's addicted to drinking. If he dies in that state, he's going to meet Allah the same way a person who worship idols meets Allah. Abu Lahab and Abu Jahl, they didn't believe in Allah. They were people from Al-Jahiliyyah. They took the religion of the people of Al-Jahiliyyah. They worship idols. When they die or they dead, when they meet Allah Azza wa Jal, they're going to meet Him, and because of their shirk and kufr, they're going to have to deal with that. The one who is addicted to alcohol will meet Allah the same way. Another hadith said, if he died and he was addicted to khamr, he's going to meet Allah like the people who worship Al-Lat and Al-Uzza, two of the main gods of Quraysh.
We'll keep this child safe so that the fitrah doesn't, and we say the child came into the world with pure fitrah. Ya Allah, keep this child's fitrah pure. Like I said, this is symptomatic of, as Allah says, mushrikun najasun. The shirk itself causes a degeneration of the physical cleanliness of the body as well, and outward, in terms of the outward disposition. So this is just again symptomatic. So this maintaining the purity of fitrah, and so we're talking about Valentine's Day, all of this, okay, indecency that we have, a complete absence of haya and modesty. You know, the fact that, again, you know, linked to this, you'll find Muslim men have no problem appearing naked in front of each other. They said this, as this young man was raping another, his friends are watching him doing it. Where has the haya gone? We see this, you know, subhanAllah, so frequently. It all started as with childhood. And that's why, and I'm not going to go through this, and that's why when we look again at the Kitab and Sunnah, look at this. Luqman, radiallahu anhu, his advice to his son. Go to Surah Luqman, there is the comprehensive piece of that advice. And it begins, you know, oh my dear child, do not make shirk with Allah. La tushrik billah, inna shirka la zulmun azim. Because verily shirk is of the greatest of dhulm. In the guardianship that Luqman has for his son. And in many ways this nasiha is Luqman as our father, giving us our nasiha as well. Starting with the priorities, he begins, oh my son, don't make shirk with Allah. He's going to give his son. And remember, Luqman is a hakim. He's a wise man. The Arabs knew him for his wisdom, in particular in tib, in medicine. And hikmah in itself, it means knowing to putting something in its right place. So he had this knowledge of medicine. So he had all this worldly knowledge that made him famous amongst the Arab. And that's why this was a hujjah in itself, that the Prophet ﷺ said to Quraysh, you hold Luqman in such high esteem He's so honored amongst you. He was a person of Tawheed.
Anyway, that's what the talk is about, so I thought it might be interesting. So of course, one of the first things I do when I give a talk is I write the title down of the lecture, and I start asking Sheikh Google some questions. And so I googled the word gangster. Okay, so I came across a really interesting definition of gangster. And what I realize is there's two things. There's the actual word gangster, G-A-N-G-S-T-E-R, gangster, and there's gangsta with a gangster. Yeah. So there's a difference between the gangsta and the gangster, right? Anyway, here's the gangsta, right? Number one, gangster, a wannabe thug, often illiterate and an inhabitant of a downtrodden ghetto that hangs around in the gangs, largely associated with the African-American subculture. These try-hard wannabe gangsters attempt to make themselves appear like real criminals by graffitiing buildings, smoking, selling drugs, and trying to look all badass and macho, an utter degradation of what a true gangster represents. So that's the wannabe gangster. Yeah, a really pathetic looking character, really, just by reading that.
The title of today's lecture, as we just heard, is Get Rich or Die Trying. And this actually fits in very well with last week's lecture for those of you that attended and heard my brother Abdul Raheem Green about there ain't no gangsters in paradise. And he mentioned in that lecture, and I was like listening and attending, he mentioned in that lecture that one of the reasons why people want to become gangsters or become gangsters or like the lifestyle of gangsters is for the bling, for the materialism involved, for the riches involved, for the money, the wealth, the cars, the houses, everything else that is associated with gangster life. And that is our topic today, get rich or die trying. Because many a time, that is what the focus of most people is, to get rich. Either through a gang, and even if not in a gang, just the average person. Their mentality, their mindset, their goal in life is to get rich, to make money. And that may not necessarily mean to be like Bill Gates rich and a billionaire or a super billionaire, whatever they call them, but just to have a lot of money. And most people will attempt to get that money by hook or by crook, any way possible. Halal, haram, cheating, lying, stealing, whatever way. Riba or any other way that they can use in order to get that money. And it's something which we even instill in our youngsters, in our children as they grow up. Because their role models are movie stars, their role models are football players, people who get paid millions upon millions. Their weekly wages more than most of us earn in a lifetime. Here and there in a week kicking a ball around. Which is probably simplifying it for those of you that are football fans, but still, that's what they get. And so they make so much money, and these are the role models that many of us have, let alone our children. These are our role models. And so, these are the role models that they have, the role models that we as parents give them, or as the elders in our society that they live in. This is the role models that they have. And so, the whole, even from a young age, the whole mindset that we're giving is to get rich. And so even when you're to ask a small young child, maybe 7, 8, 9 years old, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do? What do you want when you grow up? The answer will be something like, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a lawyer. And it's because we've told them that doctors and lawyers are good professions in the sense that they get a lot of money. If doctors got paid, £10,000 a year, no one would want to be a doctor.